Hello guys, this is your friend Shinobi Nexus 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto joined Anbu instead of Team 7? The Strongest Hidden Shinobi begins his journey part 2. Sasuke Uchiha was many things. A genius, an avenger, an Uchiha. And avenging genius Uchihas don't get captured by 3 missing ninja barely Chunin level, but he had. It was unacceptable. When he woke up in the hospital, Kakashi lazily read his book and informed him that Anbu had stopped him from being taken. Seething at his vulnerability, the last Uchiha demanded more training, more power than the team exercises and conditioning he had been limited to. Kakashi just smiled, patted him on the head, and told him powerful jutsu weren't the answer, that the Anbu who took down the leader just used shadow clones, poison, and AC rank jutsu. Sasuke scoffed at that and left the hospital to train on his own, spending his week off at the Uchiha training grounds. I need to get stronger to beat him. The brooding teen clenched his fist in his pockets in anger, not noticing his afternoon walk after another stagnant training session was taking him to a section of the village he'd never been in before, the part of town his sensei and every other higher-up ninja lived, bought food and hung out around. No civilians and most shinobi under Chunin level knew about it. Heck, Sasuke only knew about it because he lived with an Anbu for a month after the massacre. No way a recently orphaned 7-year-old would live alone right away, not when he no doubt had no way of knowing how to do simple things like cooking, cleaning, etc. His thoughts lost in the past, Sasuke almost missed a certain blonde-haired dead last walking slowly through the streets, a limp in his step and blood splattered on his face. Almost is the key word. He's gotten stronger. I need that power. Hey, I have the Sharingan, I'll fight him and steal that power. A dead last doesn't need it anyway. I bet he got an office job or hospital post. Those losers don't need power like an Avenger. Naruto was exhausted, relieved, but exhausted. A simple escort of the daimyo from the capital to Konoha turned almost deadly when a pack of 7 missing ninja, this time with mixed Iwa and Kiri headbands, had attacked the caravan holding the daimyo. Well, the decoy anyway. In reality, Team RO was escorting the daimyo's double while Gamma and 2 other squads took the real daimyo of fire on an alternate route which wove underground at times. They defeated the bastards with only minor injuries by Naruto's standards anyway. Hikaru kept insisting Naruto be carried when he sprained his ankle in a roundhouse kick. When they returned to Konoha with the bodies, the higher-ups congratulated them on their work, but everyone in RO got the impression they weren't happy none were taken alive. It made proving their likely affiliation with the newly discovered Otogaker nigh impossible. That was almost a day ago and Naruto was off until noon tomorrow. Until then, the exhausted Anbu had plans to secure his apartment, shower, and sleep with his newly made sound barrier seals and privacy seals. Months of work would pay off, as Guy's voice was not something one could learn to tune out. That was Naruto's plan, before the Uchiha he saved not that he would ever know stopped him on the street. Fight me, idiot, Sasuke demanded arrogantly. Naruto looked the brat, for Sasuke Uchiha was very much a brat in Naruto's eyes now and stared at him with tired eyes. No, he said simply and attempted to step around the older boy. Scared? You will fight me, Sasuke said and blocked his path again. Naruto sighed, wishing he had agreed to go get sushi with Hayate and Yugao now, or even the hot springs with Hikaru. He idly wondered if this was karma for slipping away from his comrades. Nah, not even karma is this cruel. I just got back from a mission, I'm tired and have no time for you, leave. His voice was cold but Naruto didn't care. He had a, hopefully still hidden, ramen stash waiting for him and warm shower calling. Sasuke grinded his teeth. He didn't used to be this unhinged, but the last time he saw Naruto had showed him how far behind he was falling, if a loser could overtake him. If you won't fight me willingly, I'll make you. Fire style. Fire dragon jutsu. He snarled. Naruto's eyes widened slightly at this. Sasuke believed it was because he was impressed or scared, and smirked. No, however, the real reason Naruto's eyes widened was his disbelief at Sasuke's stupidity. He replaces himself with a trash can from a nearby alley. You moron. Fighting between comrades in the village streets is prohibited. Naruto shouted in anger. The Sasuke he knew would never be so stupid, but when Naruto saw his eyes filled with lust for power, he groaned. The reports of the Uchiha becoming a flight risk in his search to kill Itachi were not exaggerated. Sasuke prepares another attack, when he suddenly slumps down. Anko, dango in hand, glares down at the boy in disgust. Foolish maggot. Naruto, you alright? She asks. Naruto nods. Yes, he was no threat, but thanks. What should we do with him? Naruto asked. Normally a shinobi who pulled such a stunt would spend the night at tea and I to cool off, be interrogated, and then taken to the Hokage for punishment. With the Uchiha, though, it was likely nothing would happen. Anko snorted at Naruto's question. He'll get the same treatment as everyone else. The Hokage doesn't care if he is the last of his bloodline. Weren't you the one who told me the old geezer promised that the village comes before any individual? Isn't that what he told you during your talks? Naruto winced a bit at his own unsaid accusations. He had patched things up with the Hokage completely when they had their heart-to-heart, and Naruto made him wear orange all day and rubbed his hair sheepishly. Sorry, you're right. I'll leave him to you then. And Naruto takes off before Anko can yell an indignant, "Hey! You should take him," and slips into his apartment through the window. The next morning Guy woke Naruto up at the normal 4 am time, somehow bypassing all of his seals again. Yosh, my youthful morning student. Let us bask in our youth and discover what the springtime of youth has in store for us today. We shall spend the morning together before your youthful shift starts. Guy shouted in Naruto's tiny room, his flailing arm almost knocking over the bookcase. Naruto blinked blearily. What did you say? He mumbled through his mask. He never did get a shower as Anko showed up demanding dango after he checked his traps and fed the plant, and thus was still wearing what he had on yesterday, making him seem more like Kakashi than ever. Oh, you're too hip and cool, mini Kakashi. Never fear, I shall show you the way back to youthfulness. Guy swung the still half-asleep Naruto over his shoulder. We shall take an ice-cold swim in the river before running around Konoha on our hands. By the time Naruto fully awoke, he was cursing Guy with his very soul as the water bit into his skin. Note to self. Research better security seals. With that thought in mind, Naruto begrudgingly swam the laps with the green monster, never noticing Dragon observing from a nearby tree. I know what you're thinking, Mouse, but just like with your ramen, your house will never be safe from Guy. Your training with him is too amusing. Though perhaps I should have let you sleep in, seeing as your squad did just complete an A- rank escort mission, nah. Dragon continued muttering to himself as Naruto crawled out onto the bank and was given the leg and chest weights he wore while training with Guy. Grumbling curses, the almost 13-year-old slid them on and started on his 6-hour run with Guy, who alternated between hands and feet. Anbu locker room, noon. Multiple Anbu squads were preparing for various missions and shifts when Naruto walked in with a twitching eyebrow and muttering. He. Just you wait, Guy and Mini Guy. I will create a barrier you can't break through. And when I do, my mornings off will cease to be interrupted by ramblings of, here Naruto shuddered. Youth. Tenzo, Yugao, and Hikaru winced in sympathy for their young friend. The poor boy was Guy's new pet project that extended beyond training and into attempts to bring back Naruto's youth. It was really not a fate they wished on anyone. Unfortunately for Naruto, the other squads found it hilarious. Ha ha ha, I am so glad you were suckered into that apartment and not me. Jaguar teased. He had moved in right after Naruto had, avoiding the curse that was Guy. Most of the other Anbu sniggered as the youngest among them muttered like a deluded old man about killing whoever taught Guy about seals. Of course, Aro all knew it was Dragon who just disabled them randomly for kicks. They would never tell Naruto, however, for fear of Dragon carrying out his threat of assigning them Konohamaru duty for a month. Shut it, Captain Tiger. Permission to sanction an assassination mission of whomever sells Guy his jumpsuits and taught him seals? Naruto asked hopefully. Tenzo sighed, familiar with this situation. Permission denied, Mouse. Besides, I think you'll like your mission we're preparing for tomorrow, or at least, you'll be doing the rest of us a favor, Tenzo said. Naruto his head. What kind of mission? Oh, just running the trap course for the academy today. Tenzo grinned evilly at the pale expression on Naruto's face. When Haku usually ran the course was called in on a mission, Tenzo had swiped it for his squad. Not only would Aro get to observe an unbearably easy watch from the shade of the trees, but Naruto would be able to see his teacher again in off-duty gear, too. Is this payback for making the Hokage wear orange? Naruto asked. Why? Whatever made you think that? Tenzo asked. By his too innocent expression, however, Naruto knew, his captain was a vengeful bastard when he wanted to be. Academy. Next day. Alright class, remember to treat whomever is the instructor with respect. They'll teach you basic traps and how to disable them. Iruka was stern with the 9-year-olds, especially Konohamaru and his friends. His pride as a teacher was on the line, and if his students misbehaved it would reflect poorly on him. They reached the clearing the new instructor wanted them at quickly and Iruka's jaw dropped. Standing in the middle of a sea of traps, was his unreachable student, Naruto. The boy wore standard black pants and long black shirt, and the face mask he sported resembled a certain cyclops. What really got Iruka, though, was when Naruto turned to face them and plopped down, holding up 10 flags. I don't believe in babying students and find learning by doing is better than anything my traps teacher threw me in the deep end, so I will do the same. I am your target. I have 10 flags on me, one for every 3 students. Your job is to team up into 3-man cells and make your way through the field to me, setting off as little traps as possible. You will be graded on how quickly and efficiently you get through. The winning squad will be treated to dinner by me at Ichiraku's. That got the kids' attention. Iruka's jaw dropped though at the cool tone of Naruto and the difficulty of the traps set. Go, Naruto said after a moment, and 30 students split off, preparing for their trial. Iruka used a Shunshin and Kawarimi to make it into Naruto's circle, and sat next to his old student. Iruka-sensei. Naruto greeted happily. I didn't know you were teaching this class. Naruto sounded happy, and he was, but he was also nervous. Iruka was known for being able to make Naruto talk about everything, not something Naruto wanted at this time when his Anbu status wasn't spread around. Hello, Naruto. I haven't seen you in almost 5 months. Where have you been? Iruka asked crossly. The Chunin was both ecstatic and pissed at his former student. Hey, special assignment and all that, pretty boring most of the time. I was asked to take over for the Anbu today, so that's why this course isn't as detailed as I like, Naruto apologized sheepishly. Iruka gaped at him, flabbergasted that this monster of a test wasn't the final product and forgetting about Naruto's situation in the moment, just like Naruto hoped for. What do you mean, as detailed as you'd like? This is high genin level, not meant for academy students. You can't expect 9-year-olds to succeed. Iruka ranted onto Naruto, who began tuning him out. Finally the Chunin ran out of breath. You done? Good. Listen, teamwork is more important than flashy jutsu or fancy taijutsu move. If I made it easy they wouldn't realize this. The way my course is set up, they will have to work together to get a flag, while also figuring out how the most common and deadly traps work, even if these versions only shoot out paint. Naruto gave a cold stare, daring Iruka to argue. He'd seen the genin squads and their high mortality rate on missions when their teamwork and basic knowledge was lacking, versus the Anbu squads whose teamwork saved both the ninja and the missions constantly. If being harsh now prevented even one genin death, Naruto viewed this as a mission complete. Iruka looked at Naruto in pride. The boy he knew would have boasted about doing everything alone and screamed a battle cry, not lecture on the importance of working together and pushing oneself. It made him wonder what assignment Naruto had. A few squads had overheard Naruto and strove to work better together. With new determination, the students strove to win, not just for food but also to make their temporary sensei proud. Up in the trees, Hikaru and Yugao played Go Fish. Yo, think Chibi Kahai is really an old war vet in disguise. I mean, he sounds 30, not 12. Hikaru grumbled as he lost to Yugao, who had their captain giving hand signs behind Hikaru, feeling like his favorite squad mate was being dull. No, idiot, Mouse is just growing up, something you could learn from. Yugao admonished. She was proud of Naruto for his maturity as of late. She was no longer worried of having two Hikarus on RO. What's so bad about being childish sometimes? We accepted this mission so Mouse can hang out with his old teacher, not lecture. Tenzo sighed as the recent bickering topic started up. Stop it, both of you. Tenzo ordered. His brain couldn't handle another argument over Naruto's personality. Wolf, Mouse is on a mission, an easy one, sure, but still a mission, and as such is in the mission mode we taught him. At this, Yugao looks smug. And Cat, lighten up a bit. You are playing a card game on a mission right now, so any jibes on Wolf's maturity are moot at this point. Now it's Hikaru's turn to throw his shoulders back in victory. Tenzo palms his mask in exasperation as the two clearly didn't get it. Hey, what's up? Naruto's voice breaks Tenzo from his stupor. Naruto smirked. The kids are done, I'm just a clone. Boss is taking the winners to Ichiraku's. Tenzo nodded. That's fine, Mouse. After you're done, get some rest, we have sewer patrol tonight. Everyone grimaced. Ever since their first time, Dragon took it upon himself to let RO handle most of the sewer patrol as it became easier with Naruto's clones. Darn that Dragon, sadistic bastard. See you in a few hours, and he poofed away. That night. This sucks, Hikaru said as they made their way through the tunnels, not bothering to follow the silent unless necessary rule. Silently, Naruto agreed. He had 20 clones do a preliminary sweep, but they still had to double check everything. Shut it, at least we only have the west sector. We should be done within 6 hours. Yugao was in a foul mood. Her date with Hayate would have to be postponed as the sewer smell took hours to get out. It's not so bad. There isn't any. Naruto trailed off, then cursed. Crap, there's 6 hostiles setting up explosives. They take off soundlessly, Naruto in the lead. No more complaints or bickers filled their thoughts with danger up ahead. They became the elite Anbu of Konoha. They reached the section of the tunnels the clone dispersed. Suppressing their chakra, RO looked from the shadows. 6. Wearing scratched Kumo headbands. Tenzo signed. Recognize the one in the back, Kumo B rank. Takashi the tank. Went rogue 3 months ago. Naruto signed back. He was well versed in the bingo books now, as he was determined to win the vacation passes for his squad at the next bingo book tournament. Understood. Mouse, throw 5 of your new smoke tags on my signal. Cat, Wolf, kill the 4 in front. Mouse, capture the 5th working on the bomb tags. When finished, assist me with Takashi. Tenzo ordered. With nods, Naruto threw down the tags. What made these smoke tags so special was Naruto's little twist. Instead of storing actual smoke in the seal, he stored chakra smoke from his clones, making it similar to the hidden mist jutsu. After facing Rai, Naruto had asked Kakashi for the jutsu. After trying it, it became clear that even with it being technically a D-rank jutsu, for Naruto to use it he'd have to develop a water affinity to perform it with any degree of effectiveness, which Kakashi wouldn't teach him before his wind manipulation was complete, still weeks away, even with clones. To make up for the lack, Naruto altered the standard smoke tag a bit. After accidentally sealing an annoying clone into the matrix, Naruto set it off in frustration, only to grin maniacally when his apartment was filled with a thin smoke. Now, each tag held 20 clones worth of chakra smoke, which lingered longer and blocked sensors and smell, not just sight. Once the tags released a mountain of smoke, Hikaru and Yugao took off, making the four in front fell, all of whom were genin level. Naruto went over near his target, who was frantically attempting to finish his seal but kept making mistakes. Dropping down behind, Naruto took a deep breath and tried out his new jutsu from Kakashi. Earth style. Headhunter jutsu. He whispered, screams of the enemy covering the noise, and sank into the ground. It wasn't perfect, but Naruto couldn't use destructive jutsu in close quarters or risk the man a short balding chunin with a sloppily slashed headband. Under the ground, Naruto's hands shoot out and grab the ankles. Pulling down with all his might, the man lets out a startled yelp as he finds himself neck-deep in earth. Naruto reappears behind him and knocks him out with the hilt of his new Chukoto. Opening the prisoner stasis scroll, Naruto quickly seals the unconscious man in, silently grumbling that his last scroll was used. Prisoner stasis scrolls were expensive, and it took a level 4 to make. Die, Konoha scum. A voice Naruto could only assume was Takeshi rang out. Naruto turns to see his captain and teammates having little trouble with the hulk of the man. Takeshi was powerful with his earth release, but Yugao had cut off one of his hands, making most jutsu impossible. Earth style. Mud wave. Or not. Jumping up to the ceiling, Team RO avoids the floor, becoming a disgusting river of sewage and dirt. Yugao and Tenzo give a familiar hand sign and Naruto grins behind his mask. He loved this combo, even if it was insanely difficult. Naruto made 3 clones who shunshined in a triangle formation around Takeshi. The man draws a kunai and slices toward one. At that moment, Yugao switched with the clone and blocks the strike. While he's distracted with holding off her sword, Tenzo switched with the one of the left and stabbed the man with a wooden spike from his arm. Naruto then finished it behind them, his Chukoto laced in wind chakra to decapitate the man. The mud hardened, no longer fed by chakra, and Squad RO lands around the body. Good work, Tenzo praised, slightly winded. He had engaged in a taijutsu match with the target, as at first neither wanted to damage the area, though for different reasons. HQ has already sent backup to disable any other threats. Mouse, are you able to dismantle this areas? Naruto studied the matrix on the wall carefully. It was obviously made to be let off domino style, and so he'd have to go dismantle them one at a time. It would take hours. I can, Captain. It will take hours, but I can do it. Tenzo nodded. Good. Then we don't have to wait for anyone to come. Take care of this section, we'll guard you. With a sigh, Naruto started on the first tag, slowly unraveling the seal. It ended up taking half a day before Naruto finished the last glued-on tag, only because 3 other sections had a domino-style chain as well. Finally done, Naruto rolled his shoulders and turned to his captain. Finished. Please tell me we are off duty now, he begged. Tenzo shook his head. Sorry, but all Jonin and Anbu are to report to the war room for a debriefing. The one you caught cracked. Naruto perked up a bit at that. Finally they had information. 10 minutes later, RO found their place on the ceiling, the room too full for the late arrivals. No one talked much, even Guy, kneeling next to Kakashi in the front row, barely whispered. We can now begin, the Hokage breathed, and the already grim room went deathly quiet. Last night Anbu discovered another group of missing nin, this time all from Kumo, setting up a chain of bombs in the underground sewers on a routine sweep. They killed 5 of the perpetrators, one of whom was AB rank in our bingo books, and captured 1. Ibiki and Inoichi uncovered their motive and origin. Most stiffened at what he said next. They were working for Otogakure, the budding village in rice we've been searching for. It appears they were promised entrance to the village if they managed to collapse the western sector and then capture an unsealed Byakugan or Sharingan user. Outrage from the Jonin filled the room. We should destroy them. How dare this startup try and take Konoha? Silence. Sarutobi ordered. We cannot prove anything yet and we don't know who this new village has sided with. Furthermore, they have sent an official request to participate in the Chunin exams taking place in 3 months. I accepted. Hokage-sama, is that wise? Ebisu spoke. Naruto observed the stuck-up Jonin, familiar with him from a trivia night. The man was a walking textbook, but never thought outside the box. Case in point, he didn't see the reasoning of the Hokage's position. Yes, Ebisu, it is. This way we have them in a position that when for there is clearly no, if, they try something, we will be under full rights to crush them under the great tree of Konoha. Furthermore, I have already decided that Teams 7 and 8 will be required to be in the exams. Kakashi nodded at his leader but Kurenai was indignant. Hokage-sama, you plan to use Hinata as bait. She's not ready. Kurenai argued. In truth before today she would have loved to have Hinata in the exams to toughen her up but not now. She is a kunoichi, as are you, my word is final. Besides, both she and Sasuke will have an Anbu to guard them the entirety of the exams, regardless if they make the finals. Whispers went around, as having Anbu guarding a particular person bordered on messing with the exam. Kakashi spoke up. Who will be watching our genin, Hokage-sama? Squads Falcon and Beta will be watching over Hinata Hyuga, while Team Ro and Gamma, under the guise of normal exam patrols, will be with Sasuke Uchiha. Said squads Gamma and Ro all cursed in their minds. None of them liked the Uchiha after hearing of his attempted assault, and being told to guard him for over a month was not their idea of fun. Kakashi seemed to sense their displeasure and sent an eye smile up towards the ceiling. If I may, would it be possible to commission an Anbu to help train each genin squad? It would help prepare them for the trials ahead. Naruto's stomach started dropping, hoping his senpai wasn't doing what he thought he was doing. Very well then, anyone in particular you'd like to request from the guard detail? Oh, I think Mouse would be wonderful. Kakashi I smiled as Hikaru held Naruto's shoulder to prevent him from attacking the Cyclops, and Wolf as well. Now it was Yugao holding Hikaru back, and Naruto tossed a wind-charged kunai right at Kakashi's head, who caught it easily. Everyone not in the know yet about Sasuke's sweat dropped at the violent reaction. Mouse. If you and Wolf work with my genin every Tuesday and Thursday I'll show you the first step to water manipulation. Naruto stopped reaching for another kunai. And, he questioned. Sarutobi could have ordered him to do it for free, but found the situation amusing that, and it made Kakashi spend more time away from the memorial stone. Hikaru, meanwhile, looked betrayed at his kahai, who was selling them out. I'll buy you a ramen buffet. Kakashi managed, mentally crying for his wallet. Naruto hummed. Good, but not good enough after he attacked me and no doubt will try to use his Sharingan on me every chance he gets. You know what I want. No, anything but that. Nope. Besides, cats are better. I should disown you for that. You never adopted me. Accept and let me pick it out or I'll spend the 3 months showing them my jutsu. Fine. We'll go pick you out a cat after this. Kakashi growled out. His little mini-me project was failing. Most chuckled at how the 12-year-old just got Konoha's resident cat hater to spend a fortune on a cat. Excellent. Pleasure doing business with you. Naruto cheered. Hikaru was still gaping. Moving on, we will discuss the increased patrol and preparations. I fear we may have to fend off a coordinated attack soon. Shikaku, your analysis. 7 hours later the Hokage dismissed them, and Naruto, despite his lack of sleep, was waiting for Kakashi. The height-challenged Anbu locked onto Kakashi, pinning the man with clones. "Oh senpai, you weren't going to leave without me, right?" "Hee. I would never. Let's go find you a pet dog." "Cat. Dog. Cat. Please. Anything but cats." "Nope. I like cats. Tora and I are best of friends." Everyone, even Sarutobi and Danzo, paled a bit at the thought of the Jinchuriki and Tora getting along. "At least look at the other animals," Kakashi begged, pulling out his orange book. Naruto had crawled up to his shoulders, and pulled out a book on training cats. "Fine." Kakashi did a mental victory sign. "But I'll still choose a cat." Dog. Cat. Dog. Cat. The two made their way out of the war room, neither caring for the scene they caused. Naruto walked slowly to the training grounds that would be his hell hole for the next 3 months. As ordered by the Hokage, he was wearing his off-duty clothes, and the new, official story was that he held an aide position with the Hokage's office. His new companion slept on top of his head, and he smiled up at the sight. Angel was a black hell cat, a species of felines that specialized in changing their size and using fire jutsu to an extent. They could also use a type of demonic genjutsu, but as he bought her at the kitten stage, it would be a while before any of these abilities became usable. Until then, Naruto had to teach his new companion to speak and fight her. Pakun did at least, when Naruto bribed him with pork ears today. When Angel was trained, she would add to Team RO, and Tenzo was busily creating some attack formations that included the black cat. Now, though, she was just a ball of sleeping fuzz. "Ah, Chibi Kahai and Angel, have you gotten her to speak yet?" Hikaru dropped down from a tree to walk alongside his teammate, also in normal shinobi wear. The 15-year-old had forgiven Naruto for selling him out when Naruto promised the Hyuga the chance to spar with the Uchiha, some sort of rivalry between the two clans. Apparently Hikaru had fought against many different Uchiha before they were massacred and wanted another bout, even if Sasuke was hardly worthy. After all, Hikaru graduated at 8, became a Chunin at 10 through field promotion, and then a special Jonin at 13 where he joined Anbu AN. There is no way Konoha only has like 5 early graduates. I would say there'd have to be more, but like any village they use a couple as poster children and the rest just get on with their lives. She can say, Naruto, half the time and, no, without fail. Nothing else yet, Naruto grumbled. The cat was sweet but could drive him insane with the random, no. While they worked her, he read. Hikaru grinned. Ha, she sounds like a 2-year-old. Then his face turned sullen. Captain gave me another medical jutsu to learn and I'm supposed to instruct the Haruno over medical ninjutsu. It was a known fact amongst Anbu that while Hikaru was surprisingly adept at the medic arts, his flamboyant personality and wish to be in battle made him shirk off his studies. Unfortunately for him, he lived next to the captain who did weekly tests. Having the threat of Tenzo with his ghoul face standing over you made Hikaru begrudgingly improve. Which one? Naruto asked sympathetically, Angel yawning on his head. The one that closes cut arteries. After I've learned this one, I'll be ready for the intermediate series. That's great, Hikaru. Before you know it, you'll be the next Tsunade. HMPH. I'd rather just keep spamming jutsu and gentle fists, he pouted, being melodramatic. He was only learning for the field and in case Konoha was attacked. So, when are you starting training with it? Hikaru asked after some silence. Intelligence from spies showed Suna intended to send their unstable Jinchuriki to the exams without informing Konoha. Sending any Jinchuriki to an exam was considered impolite, and by not informing them it could be considered an act of war. To prepare, Naruto was beginning his Jinchuriki training, and Jiraiya would be called back within a few weeks to continue his sealing and some jutsu that his father left him. Tomorrow. The plan is Wednesday and Friday Captain will take me to the place my mother trained at with it. The Hokage and Shinobi Council issued orders for me to be able to use a 2-tailed version 1 cloak by the exam. They also agreed for Hokage-sama to help with my water manipulation and teach me a few water-based jutsu to deal with the Aikibi. Naruto was miffed at the first part. Tenzo had argued the council saying Naruto wasn't ready yet and that Jiraiya and he could take care of the Jinchuriki. They refused, however, stating that even if it wasn't needed yet, as Konoha's Jinchuriki he had a responsibility to master as much of the beast's chakra as he could. The last part though, Naruto didn't mind. Learning from the Hokage every Sunday was an honor. At least you have the Hokage training you to make up for our babysitting job. Though, Captain did say we'd be taking some combat missions in our spare time. Naruto smiled at that. Combat missions were typically mid-B to lower rank. Obviously it was to give them experience, but it would be a welcome break over the months. Oh, Sasuke-kun, you're so cool. Sakura's screech could be heard up ahead. Naruto and Hikaru winced in sympathy for Kakashi, as they say him sigh in resignation. The third teammate, Sai, was drilling sword drills far away from the others. The Anbu ignored him, well aware that he was just a plant and already above Chunin level. Hey, senpai, how's the Chibi Genin? Hikaru greeted with a wave. Kakashi turned with a happy look, but gave a scowl to Angel. Kakashi hated the cat that cost him an S-rank pay while Angel adored the man for some odd reason. Meow, she said as she jumped off Naruto and towards the white-haired Jonin. With a bit too much enthusiasm Kakashi batted her away with his book. Hello there, Hikaru, Naruto. Hikaru, you'll be working with Sakura mostly if I'm correct. Naruto, you'll be in charge of Sasuke mostly, though if you could have 20 clones follow my clone I'll show you the start of water manipulation. Naruto did so and the real Kakashi looked back at the group. Alright, I have to take on a mission for the next several days. On Tuesdays and Thursdays Naruto will be joining you in training for the Chunin exams, mainly as a sparring partner and to drill the basics. On Wednesdays Hikaru will be your stand-in sensei for missions. Make me proud. These next few months I will have to take my own missions without you three. See you Friday. Oh, and Naruto, water my plants while I'm gone. Kakashi I smiled and left in a puff, Hikaru's mouth gaping. That bastard. Slugging his kids off to me. I'll show him the next time we have poker night. Crap. I forgot to ask him to summon Pakun. Naruto palmed his face. Now he'd have to make Angel just work with a clone on vocabulary, something he still had trouble doing. Bending down to the dazed cat he smiled. Go with a clone and it will teach you some. Hopefully when Kakashi-senpai returns Pakun can help. Angel nodded slowly and left with a Naruto. She could understand him perfectly, but words were difficult. Dobi, Hyuga, fight me. Sasuke demanded Hikaru and Naruto, though without as much venom as before. Having to clean the guard tower bathrooms humbled him a bit it seemed. Sakura frowned a bit at her crush. She heard what he tried to do and when she talked to her mother about it, the older Haruno scolded her again for being so infatuated with the Uchiha. Sakura still felt a bit of butterflies for the boy, but his disrespect for their sensei, and whatever Naruto was supposed to be shocked her. She didn't like the blonde, but assaulting him in the street and calling a stronger opponent, Dobi, was just wrong. Makes you wonder why you liked him, huh? Hikaru's not-so-joking voice spoke from behind her. Sakura blushed and turned. I don't know what you mean, I love Sasuke-kun. She said instantly, old phrases said on instinct. Hikaru rolled his eyes. Please. You're 12, almost 13. Give it a couple of years before you love anyone. And besides, the Uchiha is arrogant and cruel. I've read the mission reports he almost caused a treaty to break on the diplomatic mission when he insulted the ambassador. And on your last bandit raid, the boy broke their arms for no reason before killing them. Would you really want to be around that? Sakura bit her lip at that. It was true, Sasuke had become more and more angry and unhinged since Naruto beat them that day so badly. Just think about it. Until then, let's get you started on becoming a field medic. With a smile, Hikaru led the girl away from the Uchiha. He sent a mental apology to his teammate who looked ready to pummel the brat. No, Naruto said hours later after making Sasuke learn water walking. His plan was to force the basics like his teammates did, improving mainly the genin's control, taijutsu, and traps. Naruto knew the second stage was in the Forest of Death, and as such intended to make his student able to survive there. However, if he had to keep telling Sasuke no to fights, then the Uchiha wouldn't make it to the exam. Arg. All I've done today is water walking. I need to get stronger to beat him. Spar with me. Sasuke was exhausted but wanted more. His Sharingan would make it easy to copy Naruto's jutsu and moves. However, Naruto just sighed. Sasuke, you've learned a lot today. By Thursday I have no doubt you'll have mastered water walking. Your obsession with killing your brother, I get it, I really do. Sasuke moved to protest but Naruto cut him off. I found out my parents were killed the day I was born, that a man caused their deaths. One day, I will find him and take his life. He had found out that a suspected Sharingan user pulled the Kyuubi out and Naruto would make him pay. However, obsessing about it now won't do anything. Look at it this way. Itachi killed the Uchiha, and they all had friends, lovers, and teammates outside the Uchiha walls. Wait until you're able to beat Kakashi. When that day comes, call on me and I and others would gladly help you track the traitor down. Tish, I have to do this alone. Why? Because it was your family. Don't be stupid. With teammates you can take on any opponent. And, I'm sure you'd be allowed the killing blow. Naruto watched Sasuke's face carefully. He seemed to go through a range of emotions before settling down. Fine. I'll try it your way, but I'm still behind. How did you get so strong? Sasuke wasn't so much angry at this point but desperate. Naruto was clearly a Chunin level he could see, while Sasuke looked weak now. Sigh. Lots of shadow clones, which you can't make. Yet, he added, I'll compromise. If you work hard on what I want you to, I'll teach you some of my special traps. Sasuke looked dubious. I prefer ninjutsu. Naruto smirked at this. So do I, but one of my traps took down a B-rank shinobi, he said, leaving out the part that it incapacitated the guy and Hikaru finished him. No need to tell the whole truth. Sasuke looked a bit more intrigued. Yes, traps can take down anyone, if done right. Plus, I'll show you the Shunshin Thursday. He dangled the carrot, and Sasuke fell for it. Deal. But if I don't think your idea of this, teamwork, is helping, I'll kill him by myself. Sasuke didn't say it out loud but he realized playing along until Naruto fell by his hand was better than arguing. He'd learn this, shadow clone, one day and easily beat the former Dobi before moving on to his brother. Naruto just nodded at Sasuke's sort of agreement. No way he'd let that happen but decided to let the guy sound superior. Here's a book over the basics of trapping. Angel, time to go. Naruto called and without another word boy and cat walked away, leaving a thoughtful Uchiha looking through the book titled, Genin Level Traps, Book 1 of 3. Not knowing Naruto was already through the whole series that went through Jonin, Sasuke pored over it, secretly imagining Itachi dying from a conire wire. Private training grounds. Naruto used Shunshin to reach the waterfall where 20 clones cut the water. Pleased it wouldn't be long before he could do it himself, he turned to his partner while unsealing his training weights. Hello, Naruto, Angel said slowly, working the human words in her mouth. Naruto grinned. Hey, Angel, since we're partners we have to work together in fights. For now we'll do conditioning and an obstacle course together. With a grin the two set off into the late afternoon, Naruto wincing as the new training vest put an extra 5 pounds on him. He was instructed to not use chakra while in weights to get him better condition faster. Made sense, but that didn't mean Naruto had to like feeling weighed down. At 8 p.m. Naruto dragged himself inside his apartment, Angel hanging over his shoulder. "Stupid cat making me carry her," he muttered. Turning his doorknob, he slumps inside the doorway, only to become on guard instantly with his chukoto in hand. He felt a presence in his apartment, and they were masking it well. Inching along the wall, he pumped chakra into a seal, releasing his chakra smoke tags. Or, he would have if the commander hadn't thrown him to the ground. Almost acceptable. But next time be on your guard before you enter. Dragon said dryly as he pushed his sandal on Naruto's head. Yes, Dragon-sama. What are you here for? Naruto asked through the carpet. I doubt it's just to stalk me, though you do it a lot. Correct. I am here on business. Make me tea, he ordered. Naruto grumbled but complied, and soon 2 cups were on the table. Dragon drank slowly, his mask under a genjutsu to allow him to move it slightly to drink. I understand you are to begin on learning your Jinchuriki powers tomorrow. It wasn't a question, even if it sounded like one. In that case, I came to warn you to be careful. Normally we would wait until you reached 14, but with the threat of conflict Konoha has no choice. Even so, I won't have you become reliant on your biju. As such, while you are in mask, you may not use any demonic chakra unless in a life or death situation, and even then I would rather you come up with something else. Naruto understood what he was saying and gave his agreement. Furthermore, I will be training you and the cat on genjutsu. Before I made commander, my genjutsu was renowned. Dragon sounded almost mournful but quickly hid it. Here is a scroll over genjutsu and another over hell cats and their abilities. He placed both on the table. Wait, I thought angel species used to ally with the Uchiha. How did you get one of their scrolls on them? Dragon chuckled. I have my ways. I expect you to have both read and the kitten to access her chakra by next week. And without a sound, Dragon was gone. After a moment, Naruto cleaned up before laying in bed, opening his first scroll. Genjutsu Theory for Dummies Chapter 1, he muttered. Next day, Naruto was ready. Guy would be in for a nasty surprise when he broke in. Before he fell asleep, the young Anbu had set up his nastiest traps in preparation. Hearing the front door open, Naruto hides a mischievous grin. Yosh. Good morning, Naruto. My most youthful neighbor. Let us start our youthful morning exercises. And to Naruto's horror, the green man had somehow gotten out of all his preventative measures. With a resigned groan, the Anbu changes in seconds and straps his weights on, dragging a hissing angel along. Outside his window, Dragon smirked. Naruto's traps were beginning to be a challenge, but it wouldn't save him from morning sessions with Guy. Not when Dragon needed every Anbu the best they could be. This isn't working, Naruto whined. He had been attempting to meditate for hours to no avail. He couldn't access the fox's chakra. Just keep trying. Tenzo sighed in frustration as well. He hadn't thought getting Naruto a meeting with his tenant would be so difficult. This was the 6th lesson and they had tried sparing, using all of his chakra, and now meditation, nothing worked. Tenzo didn't whether to be proud or angry that the boy had such a lock on his emotions that taunts and slurs did nothing to draw the Kyuubi chakra out. Yo, Chibi Kahai, what's up? Hikaru greeted as he jumped down to the valley they were practicing in. We have dinner tonight to go over Kakashi's team's progress, remember? Go away, Hikaru-senpai, I have to access the fox's chakra. Naruto bit out between deep breaths, eyes closed in concentration. Hikaru knew his friend had yet to draw on any power and that it was driving the boy mad. A light bulb went off and he signaled Tenzo to get ready. Oh really? But you're so tiny, what's a chibi like you doing trying to use a power you can't understand? A tick mark grew on Naruto's forehead. Only Hikaru and Anko could make him lose his cool. One final button mixed with his own anger at his failure would do it. With a grin, Hikaru swiped Naruto's headband off his forehead. It was one of his most precious possessions as it belonged to his favorite teacher. I'll just keep this till you grow a few feet, he taunted. Naruto let out a fierce growl and red chakra started leaking red chakra, his claws growing longer. Now, Captain. Wood sprouts from the ground and absorbs the chakra, sending Naruto to oblivion. I can't believe that worked, I said, and did things 10 times worse. Tenzo said in awe. Hikaru smirked in reply. Ah, but he views you as a superior and knows you don't mean it. I mock and tease him enough that I know which of his buttons to push and when. Now what? Now, we wait. He's exhausted of chakra and he drew on its power, so Naruto should be able to meet with the fox and ask for power. Inside Naruto's mindscape, Naruto found himself in a sewer, a huge cage in front of him. Great. This is what my mind's like. That sucks, Naruto mumbled. He read in a book over meditation that the mindscape reflected the mental state built from childhood. Needless to say, Naruto's didn't look too cheery. My jailer is here to bug me. What do you want, mortal? A growl came out from the bars. A pair of red eyes and mouth of teeth push against the bars. Remembering why he was there, Naruto sat up and bowed. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, your current jailer. I'm here to strike a deal for both our benefit. What is your name? Kurama barely kept his eyes from bugging. He hadn't had a human bow to him in centuries, much less speak in a civil manner or ask his name. Kurama had looked through the memories of his cantainer's life and was impressed with the human's resolve. It made the old fox almost hopeful. He would give the human a chance, not that the boy had to know. And if he just happened to be the one father was talking about, well, then Kurama would be smug to his siblings that he was the one to guide him. Insolent brat. Don't presume I need anything from you. But, I will listen to your proposition. And it's Kurama, he added as an afterthought. Later, Naruto sat up slowly, his teammates looking at him with worry, Dragon nearby as well. We met, he said with a straight face. And, Hikaru shakes his shoulders. Naruto gives a hidden smirk, his face mask making him unreadable. Kurama said I can use his chakra as long as I ask beforehand. In exchange he gets a mental connection and something about watching me for signs of being another stupid niggin, before he makes a final decision, whatever that means. Naruto shrugged. Looks of relief spread across Tenzo and Hikaru. Even Dragon appeared relaxed. Kurama, Tenzo asked. Oh, the Kyuubi. He isn't mindless. Everyone has a name, Naruto said simply, wondering why everyone was making such a big deal out of it. In the seal, Kurama snickered as he looked through Naruto's eyes at the expressions. Angel popped out of the commander's cloak. Naruto. I learned how to use fire. The cat cheered with the increasing vocabulary, and demonstrated with 6 golf ball-sized flames flying at him. After dodging, he clapped his hands. Good job, Angel. The cat had taken to Dragon almost as well as Kakashi, and unlike the Cyclops, the commander would teach the feline, not bat it away. Tiger, your squad has guard duty of the Hokage Tower tomorrow. Mouse, how has the genjutsu I gave you to learn working? Dragon asked. Naruto chuckled nervously. After reading the basic scroll, Dragon had shown him AC rank genjutsu, forced hypnosis, a basic technique letting the user put the victim in a trance and offer subtle ideas or have them follow orders for a short time. It was useful for making prisoners or clients more compliant, though until mastered the illusion could be broken by any genin. Once fully learned, most chunin would succumb, meaning it was extremely useful. It doesn't last on the clones for more than a few seconds. My control isn't the best, though now that Kurama and I are working together, it should improve. Hikaru hummed. I'll teach you waterfall walking. It's advanced enough that your control will end up improving to the point of making the genjutsu work. He offered. Do that, Wolf. Mouse, have this mastered by next week or I'll tell Guy to give you extra weight. Dragon said cheerfully before leaving. Naruto paled, then looked at his senpai. Save me. Don't let guy get to me, I'm already wearing 15 pounds on my legs and 20 on my torso. PSH. That's weak, Chibi Kahai, Hikaru mocked. That is pathetic. Grow some muscle. Kurama mocked along, already liking the Hyuga. Naruto sputtered a bit. Fine. Be that way, I'll just tell guy you'd like to join us. His eyes turned devious and it was Hikaru's time to pale. I think Hiyashi-sama needs me at the clan compound for a few days. Ya nay. And he leaves as well. Tenzo looks down. From now on we'll work on you using the fox's Kuramas. He backtracks at Naruto's glare. Angel joins in for effect. Chakra without you losing control. By the exams the elders want you to use 2 taels worth, but personally I don't think you can do 2 taels. I think you can control 4. With a proud smile Tenzo helps his subordinate up. How about some sushi, my treat? Sushi. Was the dual cheer of Naruto and Angel. Sarutobi's office. Next day. As reward for his accomplishment Naruto was given the most sought-after spot in the office, the left rafter above the desk. In this coveted position one had the breeze from the windows and none of the tobacco smell. Furthermore it had a nice ledge big enough to sit on. Yes, it was bliss. Sure it also was the spot of the messenger, but rarely did that happen and Angel had a spot nearby under the desk. It was decided that the cat was to run intervillage missions with them as she proved to be adept at fighting and stealth. Until a certain toad sage came in through the window. Hello sensei. Mind telling me why you recalled me 3 months early? Jiraiya was a diligent shinobi that loved his village, but he enjoyed his time on the road, damn it. Ah, Jiraiya. I am glad you came quickly, you're aware of the intelligence reports over this, Otogakure. Sarutobi blew on his pipe. Naruto listened in office duty was monotonous but let you in on all the juicy parts of the village running. Not that the Anbu would ever discuss what was said. Only on highly secretive mission reports would the Anbu be sent out. Each agent was trusted fully by the Hokage, meaning none of them would dream of selling out secrets or spreading rumors. Of course I still can't get a confirmation on who leads it. Suna has been spotted holding talks with them, not good, as they are bringing their Jinchuriki to the exams without telling us. Only our increased vigilance due to the past several months allowed us to confirm it. Naruto sucked on his teeth at that. It was bad news if Suna went against them. So you want me here as a deterrent? Jiraiya asked. If so, perhaps he could help Naruto and his Genin squad. He heard he'd graduated this term but couldn't ask for more updates with his schedule. Yes, and to train Naruto in Fuinjutsu and Jutsu. Jiraiya perked up at that. And the Kyuubi chakra, I presume. Tenzo is in charge of that, but I am sure he wouldn't mind some help. Isn't that right, Tiger? Tenzo appears in a kneel in front of the desk. Not at all, Hokage-sama. I'm sure Naruto would appreciate the chance to know his godfather. Naruto had been told about Jiraiya by the Hokage during their chat. Jiraiya tensed. Don't worry, Jiraiya. Naruto knows everything. And he forgave me, though I would watch for pranks. Sarutobi said, somewhat amused now that it wasn't him in the doghouse. He greatly enjoyed his weekly lessons with his surrogate grandson. Oh, the Gaki has his mother's personality then. Maybe I should pass on the way of the. I wouldn't finish that if I were you, Sarutobi warned. Yugao had turned her corner into a frigid wasteland. She wouldn't have anyone, even a Sannin, corrupt her Kahai. I take it the Anbu are fond of him. I'm glad he was taken care of. Can't wait to meet him and his Genin team. Anyway, here's a coded message I managed to snag from a runner on their way to Suna. They have an exact copy. Excellent, I'll have cryptology take a look at it. Mouse. He said absently. Naruto appeared at the Hokage's side and took the scroll with a bow. Please give this to Shiro. Right away, Hokage-sama, Naruto said evenly. He refused to look at his godfather. However, the pervert looked at him. Hold on a second. Mouse, was it? How old are you? Jiraiya saw the blonde hair and short stature. No, it couldn't be. Naruto looked towards his captain, who shook his head no. Without a word, Naruto left through the ceiling's passageway towards cryptology. Jiraiya fixed a hard stare on Sarutobi. Sensei, who was that? Now Jiraiya, you know most Anbu never reveal their identities. Sarutobi chided. He was having fun toying with his student. This will teach him to delay the release of Ika Ika. Cut the crap, was that Naruto? Because it sure looked like him with the hair and height. Quote. Yes, that's him, the Hokage said after a pregnant pause. The office was filled with killing intent. You put my godson, who I was told was behind his peers, in Anbu. Are you insane? Sigh. Sit down and shut up. It's time you hear about the real Naruto. And over the next 30 minutes Jiraiya heard everything. The troubled and lonely early life, his sabotaged schooling, and his life in Anbu. Naruto appears with a scroll from cryptology concerning another case in his hand. Naruto, take off your mask. It's time to meet your godfather, the Hokage ordered. With a sigh, Naruto slid his mask off and onto his belt. It is nice to meet you, Jiraiya-sama. He said tonelessly. Jiraiya gave a weak smile, still reeling about what he heard. Nice to meet you, kid. You look like a mini Kakashi with that mask. All you need now is a Sharingan and you'd be golden. The chuckle he let out was fake, and no one laughed. Naruto, please escort Jiraiya to your team's training grounds. You can have a private conversation there. Sarutobi said kindly. With a bow, Naruto put his second face on, becoming mouse. Please follow me, Jiraiya-sama. And the pair made their way out the office, Angel following soon, leaving a rather worried Team RO. I bet that bastard Dragon planned this. Hikaru blurted out suddenly. That I did, Dragon said from nowhere. Wolf, we'll have a private session on your next day off. His voice was cheerful, but still the Hyuga paled. Now let's do some spying. He held up the famous orb, giddiness evident. End. How was that? Through discussions with readers, a friend, and my cats, I do have 3 of them, I decided on Naruto's familiar being a cat, as you know. I made it to where Angel will grow over time and her personality will become more defined. Next chapter should be longer and will hold Naruto's chat with the world's worst godfather and more training, as well as more with Oto Tsuna. For those confused with either Sasuke's seemingly change in character, or Kurama's difference, a few things. Sasuke will not be all chummy. I even have another, stupid angsty Sasuke, moment planned. But, I won't have him always be evil. Mainly because, even though it fits, I wanted to have him redeemable, and when looking at my outline, decided that having an evil Sasuke would do more harm than good. Though, I do have the story diverge at a point where it will be able to go either way. As with Kurama, even small changes will affect those around you. I always found it odd that in canon Naruto, who knew the pain of being treated as nothing or evil, would treat Kurama the same way the first time he met him. Sure, Kurama threatened to eat him, but now that Naruto isn't a complete idiot and knows some respect, I feel Kurama would be willing to extend an olive branch. Plus, it's my fanfic and I hate having an evil Kurama. Therefore, their relationship will grow, if only slightly, from mutual hatred that was before the meeting to let's work sort of together to live. However, as with Naruto in canon though, the chakra will be filled with hate, as Kurama doesn't have a complete 180. Happy National Cat Day. With Naruto and Jiraiya. Once Naruto stepped into the training grounds of RO, Jiraiya could feel his godson's anger. Shit, was the Toad Sage's thoughts before his jewels barely escaped a Chukoto ramming into them. He dodged flurry after flurry of well-timed jabs. At one point a Kawarimi protected his head from flying as Naruto pulled off a perfect shunshin to get behind into Jiraiya's blind spot. If Naruto had just a couple more years practice at suppressing his chakra, it would have worked. The worst part was that the whole time, His godson was behind his Anbu mask, meaning he couldn't tell what exactly he was feeling. As soon as the boy got into the battle, his emotions became unreadable. Tenzo's trained him well, but who taught him that level of shunshin? And the kenjutsu is rough but deadly. With the spies, well-meaning observers, ha stupid sage, that will teach him to abandon his family, Dragon said as he watched Naruto almost lop Jiraiya's head off for the third time. Sarutobi gave him an incredulous look. Dragon, he didn't abandon your subordinate, he had important duties and Kanit Hokage-sama, I've read his real file. As has Tenzo with my permission. He was stuck in the past and left Naruto to rot. Dragon was fiercely protective of all those under him. Mess with one of them and you would be facing the fourth most powerful loyal leaf shinobi on active duty. When he discovered what Jiraiya saw as reasonable excuse to not check up on or send money to his student's legacy, he was tempted to break out of his disguise and use every ounce of his skill to murder Jiraiya. In other words, the dragon wanted to awaken. But seeing his current youngest subordinate elegantly channel his teachings towards mission, skewer a toad was enough for the commander, for now, at least. I know you're both angry with Jiraiya, but he's here now. Sarutobi tried but stopped as he could feel the room of glares from behind neutral masks. Okay, so he deserves this, but I just hope he survives not fighting back while Naruto's like that is either brave or stupid. Back with Naruto and Jiraiya. Naruto, stop. Naruto. Jiraiya held a fist with a chakra-conductive kunai, wind blade centimeters from his jugular. After dodging without any response from the boy, Jiraiya had fought back. Big mistake. Naruto took that as permission to coat his sword and the kunai in wind chakra, and demonstrate his mastery of several low-ranked but deadly jutsu. Though he was hardly putting an effort in, Naruto's unpredictableness almost cost the pervert on no less than 6 occasions. No one's invincible, and I hate it when high-class opponents seem to appear so forever. No, everybody is vulnerable to pointy objects aimed at vital spots if they're careless. I know I screwed up by not being there, but I'm here now. Why are you attempting murder? Jiraiya had not been so fearful in years as when Naruto used Shunshin to appear several feet in front of him and pulled off his mask, eyes slitted red. You abandoned me. I want to know why. Not some bull crap like Iowa or spies or your network. I know Anbu runs over 80% of the village's intelligence gathering. Naruto growled through ragged breaths. He knew the real reason but wanted someone to admit it. Kurama in the seal was quite enjoying himself. His container was certainly more entertaining than he thought he would be, and the older human deserved the pain. Sigh. You look just like him, that's why. Seeing you now is hard, but I can tell you're your own person. Jiraiya got on the ground and bowed his nose to the dirt. Please forgive me, for I have failed you. He asked. Naruto's eyes turned blue once more. What will he do, I wonder? His emotions are fluctuating. Kurama didn't know whether to be disappointed or proud at his container's reply. No, I can't forgive you. Maybe he's not the one, Kurama thought, only to widen his eyes at the answer. Yet, I can't forgive you yet. I could lie and tell you I don't hold a grudge, but I do. But that's not to say we can't start over. You've messed up as a godfather and have to earn that right back. But, I've seen what hatred does to people. The villagers and Sasuke and they QB. I don't ever want to be as empty yet filled with anger as them. So, my name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze. I like my friends Yugao, Tenzo, Hikaru, Angel and Kurama, seals, training, and ramen. I dislike those who can't tell a kunai from a scroll, traitors, and recently secrets. My hobbies are reading and gardening at the moment. My dream is to protect my precious people, to be strong enough for them. And get the guy back that killed my parents one day. He held out a hand to the slack-jawed toad sage. After a moment, Jiraiya hesitantly offered his hand back. My name is Jiraiya. I like sake, researching what makes women perfect, and writing. I dislike a certain snake, traitors, and war. My hobbies are writing and research. My dream is to end the cycle of hatred, even if it is impossible. Jiraiya kept from using his usual antics until later. Naruto plopped down in front. So, what now? Jiraiya smirked at the question. Well, your combat abilities are definitely Chunin in level based on just now Anbu influence, I'm sure. But you don't have that much in your arsenal and your taijutsu could still use work. Name the ninjutsu that you can use. Well, I have the Kawarimi, Henge, and Shadow Clone mastered at Dragon's approval. My Great Breakthrough and Air Force Palm are also mastered, but now I'm increasing their speed or power. My other wind attack, Drilling Air Bullets, is acceptable as is Shunshin. Hold on, your Shunshin is battle ready without seals, that's mastered in my book. Naruto shook his head. No, dragon says it isn't until I can create after images. Anyways, I am able to use the headhunter, but it's limited for a few feet range and the hidden mist is just now becoming thick enough for me to confuse enemies. Naruto was proud at the last part. After managing to get the penny to move around and float on water in a glass, the first step to water manipulation, he was able to use water jutsu, even if it took a huge chunk of chakra still. The next step was controlling the waterfall waves to push it upwards. If he had a choice, Naruto would be done with water manipulation training as he just finished wind last week. However, Shukaku was vulnerable to water-based attacks, so he had to gain the control necessary for several high-powered water attacks. Jiraiya looked proud. Good, good. You have almost enough ninjutsu for now, as Sensei and Kakashi are spending time on that. I'll begin teaching you the Rasengan later today and a few supplementary jutsu as the exams get closer though. However, let's talk seals. He had a glint in his eye that made Naruto nervous, which increased when Jiraiya rubbed his hands together. That night, Naruto lay on his bed unable to sleep. You called me friend. Kurama's growl echoed through Naruto's mind. The fox had stayed quiet but now wanted answers. Yeah, so, I consider you a friend, Kurama. Why? Why not? We're stuck together, might as well get along. Naruto thought back bluntly. Honestly, the fox could be dense. You aren't my friend. You don't even have my respect, brat. Yet. I don't have your respect yet. But one day I will. And then a day will come where we're best of friends. What makes you so sure? At the first chance I could break the seal. I am a being of pure hatred. I'm not worried. I'll just have to help you with your anger problem before then. Kurama sputtered at that. I don't have anger problems. I am all the world's hatred. Blah, blah, blah. I get it. But soon you'll be the world's something other than hatred. I promise you this. And I never go back on my word to comrades. I'm not your comrade, Kurama insisted. He never had a human so naive to think he'd be his friend or comrade. But, the brat did amuse him, and the tiny human reminded him of the fox's father to an extent. Just keep telling yourself that. I'll get through you one day. Angel stretched out on his stomach, purring, breaking the conversation. Naruto. Why were you mad at the funny man? Angel asked. Originally his name had been Toad Man, but when they caught him drooling over a swimsuit magazine, the puzzled cat changed it. He did something bad. But you forgive him? No, not really. But I need his assistance for my fuinjutsu. Naruto admitted, which confused the cat more. In the cat lands, if someone made you mad, you didn't hang around them until they apologized. Angel said, confused. Hey, well, in the ninja world, the greater good and orders come before feelings. Besides, we still have to come up with a prank for him. I may have an idea for that. Dragon's voice spoke through the darkness. Anbu and Cat bolted out of bed in a holler. The commander chuckled, appearing on the window sill. My, is the cat and mouse afraid of the dark? Said Cat and Mouse glared. Hey, anyway, I have something in mind, and if you pull it off, I'll make it worth your while. Next day, Jinchuriki training area. Why are you poking me? Naruto asked as he heaved air. They had forced Naruto to draw on a full tail's worth before he was ready. Every muscle was torn or strained. Jiraiya just kept using Naruto's sheathed sword to poke him in the side. You sure you're alright? Tenzo had to suppress your chakra. That shouldn't happen. Naruto glared at the Sannin. It's my second time using Kurama's chakra, so give me a break. Kurama. As in the one you called a friend yesterday. Jiraiya sucked in a breath when Naruto shook his head. Kid, you can't trust it, the beast. As a he, has a name, and is stuck inside me. Kurama can't get out, and treating him like a demon makes him act like one. The Hachibi and his Jinchuriki are partners, and the Aikibi and Gaara can unleash vast amounts of power. I have to talk to him to get power, and I'd rather be on good terms than fight for my sanity and control when it matters. Fine. But I'll be keeping a close eye on your seal. He said, distrusting. But now, time to learn your father's second most famous jutsu. 1 week later, Jiraiya woke in his hotel room refreshed. His godson was talking to him during training. Even if underhanded insults hardly counted as conversation, his revised draft of his next book was ready to be shipped for publishing, and he had until the afternoon to research before Naruto showed up for lessons. The boy had the Rasengan's first step mastered with one hand and was eagerly improving on step 2. Within a month Naruto would know Rasengan, and he was officially a beginning level 3 Fuinjutsu user. Yes, everything was working out, until it wasn't. Who stole my book? Was heard all across Konoha. Jiraiya hyperventilated. Few had the skill to steal from him, and even fewer had the guts. A note greeted him on the bottom of his sack. Jiraiya, we have taken your book as payment. For the next 5 days you are to teach at the academy the basics of small explosive notes and storage scrolls to the final years. If you refuse, your book will take a fireball and its ashes will be mailed to you. Peas. Yes, we took both copies. Jiraiya paled, cursed, then resigned himself. Sorry Naruto, but months of research must not be wasted. With grim resolve the sage walked to the academy for his punishment, wondering if it was his sensei or the Chunin who pulled it off. If only he knew it was his godson who successfully pulled it off without any assistance. Meanwhile, Hokage's office. Dragon and Sarutobi toasted their tea together, both reading Ika Ika Volume 13. Naruto and Angel barely kept their faces blank at the sight of two grown men giggling over smut, as did Tenzo and Yugao. Oh, here, Dragon said suddenly, slamming something in Naruto's face. Naruto cursed, then saw the Chunin grin. I'm in Anbu. We don't get these promotions. He pointed out blandly. Technically Anbu were above everyone but their captains, commander, and the elders Hokage. Even Jonin would listen to an order from an Anbu member on a mission. Normally you would be right, Naruto, Sarutobi said between pages, but not only will it solidify your non-Anbu identity as Konoha's Jinchuriki when the exams roll around, basically a show of village strength since Suna's Jinchuriki is still a genin, but you're more than qualified, 32 C rank guard rotations, 20 various B rank, and 4 A rank. That and you're on babysitting duty while your captain and senpai here does a measly S rank surveillance. Dragon added airily. All the Anbu looked towards their commander, even the ones stationed. Only you would call an S rank measly, commander. Naruto deadpanned. And what's this about? Babysitting. I'm not in charge of Konohamaru again, am I? I can't take being his boss anymore. Atop his head Angel agreed. Yeah, no baby humans. Konohamaru and his friends took every chance they could to bug the pair for training, even going so far as attempting to follow Naruto home several times. Not even the Hyuga girl was that persistent anymore. Ha ha, no, you get to be Team 7's squad leader for a week-long C-rank delivery and pick-up mission to River Country border. Please no, Naruto finally managed. He could take Sasuke in small doses as long as he kept the older boy busy. Heck, even the other two were manageable now that Sakura started to grow up. But a week of non-stop interaction? Hell no. Let Hikaru do it. He's their temporary sensei when Kakashi-senpai is busy. The older Anbu secretly agreed. Let the bum Hikaru use this vacation to look after some brats. That won't be possible. Wolf will be my personal training partner this week. Unless you wish to take his place. Naruto shivered and grabbed the scroll in Dragon's hand. No need. Dragon-sama, Hokage-sama, Captain, Yugao-senpai. See you in a week. He said in a rush before bolting towards the door. Wait. Dragon threw another scroll. Your payment for those 600 chakra smoke tags and 300 explosive tags, 6 chakra conductive kunai and 300 senbon. Though why you need more of the kunai mouse I will never know. You have 4 from that blasted poker night deal. Naruto lit up at that. On request of his commander he made the mass amounts of the explosive and chakra smoke tags over the course of a month for the Anbu forces. In payment he requested more of the special kunai as regular ones couldn't take prolonged channeling of wind chakra. Then, after seeing how deadly Sakura was lately with senbon, he added the tiny weapons on. You can never have too many. Naruto defended with a cheeky grin. Instead of 3 Chukoto, Naruto got 2 and 4 of the kunai from the supply store. East Gate. Yo. Naruto greeted when he appeared in front of Team 7 half an hour later. The 3 genin stared at their replacement squad leader, with mixtures of surprise for Sakura, jealousy for Sasuke, and mild curiosity for Sai. Naruto, what are you doing here in a Chunin vest? Sakura finally asked after a staring contest between the 4 took place. Oh, I got a field promotion for working in the Hokage Tower. He lied smoothly. Field promotions for administrative positions were common. The genin bought it, though Sasuke was suspicious as always, seeing as Naruto's combat abilities were astounding unlike other shinobi in his supposed area. And since Kakashi-senpai is busy, I was put as your commanding officer for the week. Our mission is to meet the village's leading supplier of rice and exchange the revised sale agreement for the next growing season. Oh, and Sakura, catch. What's this? 300 senbon. The girl squealed at seeing her new favorite weapon. Her teammates inch away slowly as her long hair appears to whip around her head and storm clouds blow in. Think of all the uses. The joints I can hit. Hey, I see you like them, Naruto said as he too backed away. Sakura gave him a small smile. Thanks, Naruto. Where did you get them? Senbon are difficult to get below Jonin or Anbu. Can we go now? Sasuke interrupted rudely before Naruto could explain. Rolling his eyes, the Anbu agent shook his head. Fine. Diamond formation, Sasuke front with Sakura and Sai left and right. I'll be in the back with my shadow clones. We have 3 days to arrive at the border in case of attack. Don't question me. Naruto ordered with a tick. Sasuke gulped. An annoyed Naruto equaled an in pain Sasuke. Even Sai was wary of that emotion. Hours later the 4 were hopping through the trees with clones going on ahead, Naruto working on senbon balancing with his fingertips and Sai gazing emotionlessly. Sakura attempted to talk to her broody teammate. Sasuke-kun, you. Shut up, Sakura. Sasuke snapped. I won't go on a date with you, you're weak. I thought you got over that. In truth, Sasuke wouldn't have been so rough, but the combination of his rival surpassing him and the useless mission they gave him made Sasuke short-tempered. Since the kidnapping attempt he had gotten more training than ever before, but the missions were a joke. Fine. I was just going to say your pack was open, Sasuke. The pinkett huffed. All 3 boys whipped their heads to gape at her. What? She asked. You just told off Les, Sai pointed out. You weren't asking me out. And you called him Sasuke without the kun. HMPH. Shut it, guys. She said with a sweat drop. She wasn't that bad, was she? She'd have to talk to Ino about it after they returned. With that the 4 continued on towards the border. Meanwhile, Kakashi was meeting up with Yugao and Tenzo deep within rice. Senpai. They both greeted in sign, dressed as missing Nin from Kumo. Kakashi smiled in similar garb but kept the face mask. Good, you're here. The message Jiraiya-sama found mentioned an alliance between Oto and Suna, with a meeting scheduled between Jonin representatives near here. We are to observe and find a way to confirm the location of Oto. They give affirmation and sit down in the trees to prepare. The future of the village could depend on their success. But seriously, check their stories out. You won't be disappointed, promise. Border between Konoha and river. Naruto exhaled to keep from killing two of his comrades. Sasuke and Sakura's ability to work together had diminished to almost non-existent within the span of 3 days. After Sasuke made the first remark, the Uchiha continued to do so with increasing viciousness, only this time aimed at both the team and the mission. This is pointless. I could be training, not waiting here to trade some pieces of paper. Sasuke said arrogantly. His attitude went sour and ego took a hit when Sakura decked both him and Sai during an argument last night. To save face, the boy was no acting like a petulant child. Suck it up, you jerk, Sakura growled. Sakura Haruno would never have treated her beloved that way, but ever since Hikaru began her medical training, the girl took off her rose-tinted glasses and actually saw both her teammates. The verdict: both were assholes, though Sai was just clueless while Sasuke was the child who had to have his way. Sure, he was improving over time, but this mission reverted him back to his bad habits. Both of you, just, please shut up. We're on a mission and I don't want to be the one to explain to the council why Konoha now appears bad to our supplier of rice. Naruto rubbed his temples. Both now fueled their ire to him. What the hell, Naruto? She started it. The two said simultaneously. Ugly and less are childish, Sai pointed out. Naruto looked deep within himself. Kurama, what should I do? You're asking me. I told you days ago to just kill them and be done with it, especially the Uchiha. Sighing annoyance, he let the Kitsune's bad advice go. WWDD, what would Dragon do? He pondered, and then tossed out Dragon's obvious choice of personal hell disguised as training. Can't do that on a mission. Tenzo's method of fish eyes and creepy lighting weren't possible for Naruto either. Finally, he settled on bribery. If you three can act professional until we return to Konoha, and I mean no fighting or bickering, I will teach each of you something. Sasuke, I'll let you copy some of my taijutsu moves. Sakura, I'll show you the one genjutsu I know, and Sai, how about I just give you some of my chakra smoke tags? Each of the genin looked thrilled in their own ways. Fine. Sasuke rolled his eyes. He'd do anything for more training, even play nice with useless teammates. For now, anyway. Yes, Captain, Sai quipped blandly. As Root the Pale Boy was accustomed to following a superior's orders, only his standing mission of killing Sasuke Uchiha in the event of defection would override Naruto's orders in Sai's mind. Fine, but the next person who mocks me becomes my test subject. Next lesson with Hikaru-sensei, Sakura warned. With a quick nod, Naruto clapped his hands. Since that's done, it's time for me to tell you the real reason behind the mission. Naruto said, bringing 3 confused looks. You are all aware of the increased activity of rogue shinobi and skirmishes. Naruto stated. Of course, Ino said. We're prepping for war with somebody, though she didn't know who, Sakura said. Naruto mentally noted to find out where Ino got her source. While not exactly top secret, genin shouldn't have been aware that war was even a path they were considering right now. As Anbu, Naruto was in the know, though either during or soon after, Konoha would be in warfare, be it with Suna, Oto, or another country that took advantage of the situation. Yes, but don't go spreading that around, as it's too early to confirm or deny that possibility. However, in wartime or times of tense relations, ninja villages are unable to splurge on supplies as much, and we can't afford to go year by year with food when conflict could make securing supplies impossible. That means today, when the representatives and negotiators show up, we will make them agree to continue to be our supplier even if another country tries to convince them otherwise. 3 confused looks were aimed at him. Make them? Sakura asked. Yes, Sakura. There is some fear that River will use this to either up the price or back out of our trade agreement. Don't worry, I'll handle the speaking parts, your team is more of a show of good faith. Naruto assured her. The boys looked confused, but Sakura thought it over. Realization dawned on her. Because sending the last Uchiha to this proves Konoha wants to put their best foot forward and trusts River Country enough to send an endangered bloodline to the border. Sasuke looked a little peeved at being used as a show of good faith but let it go at Naruto's warning glance. Correct. Sasuke will be present as will Sakura. Sai, I'll need you in the trees on lookout for any trouble. Naruto got 3 nods in return. What he didn't tell them was that Naruto was the biggest play in the mission. The representative for the rice company originated from Konoha and knew about Naruto's Jinchuriki status. Once he saw the blonde shinobi, he'd think twice about attacking or attempting treachery, even with the samurai he'd no doubt bring. Once Naruto had read that part in his apartment while packing, he'd sent Angel to stay with Hikaru for the week. The Hellcat was strong for her age, but if he had to pull a full fight or draw on Kurama's chakra, he couldn't be worrying about his partner. She wasn't ready to take part in this type of mission yet. An hour and several traps and stationed shadow clones later, Team 7 and Naruto could sense the approaching party. 10 samurai, 3 officials. Sai signed. Not that anyone but Naruto noticed. Genin didn't normally know sign, much to Naruto's chagrin. Good. Keep a lookout, be ready for anything, he signed back. If worse came to worse, Naruto would have Sai activate the traps and clones while they ran back to Konoha, killing the people from River for breaking ties. By the show of force from River, they had to be ready for anything. The negotiators arrive in a fanfare. The man who ran the talks, Rai Gecko, a distant relative to Hayate, perhaps Naruto mused, was looking out of breath from the walk. When he spotted the Uchiha, he felt his spirits rise at Konoha's trust, ensuring that the village wanted to continue peacefully and could be manipulated. But when he saw Naruto, Konoha's Jinchuriki and demon brat, he paled. To be sent on this meant that his life was forfeit if he attempted any bullshitting or tried to raise prices unfairly like he planned to before, if possible. And the worst part, the third's law was absolute, and if Rai broke that to warn his associates now or later, Konoha would retaliate full force as well as slaughter him and his family. Gecko-sama, it is an honor to meet with you about continuous friendship between our two nations. These are my teammates, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. I am Naruto Uzumaki, as I'm sure you're aware. Naruto said and bowed deeply, which for a ninja on a mission was a show of good faith. Naruto was proud of himself. The advanced diplomacy books Dragon made him read over the last several weeks worked. Realization hit him like a brick. He planned this all out, the bastard. Naruto fumed, though his masked face remained neutral. Rai winced inwardly. By the last statement, Naruto knew about his status, meaning the boy likely could use some of the demon's power like legends stated that demon hosts could. Time to play patch up and give Konoha what they wanted. Of course, Uzumaki-san, I know exactly who you are. It is a pleasure to work with you and your team. These are my associates, Dan Sasama and Hideki Mamachi. Rai replied. Over the next hour, Rai received strange glances from his convoy. When he offered to double Konoha's rice supply and small discount in exchange for continued friendship and alliance in conflict, they turned slack-jawed. But there was nothing Rai could do. He preferred living and he was the boss, second only to the daimyo of River. The man also knew about the Kyubi Jinchuriki as he was visiting Konoha to offer aid before the Third's Law took effect after the attack and took the oath to prevent war with the country. Rai was sure the man would agree that angering Konoha at this point would be suicide. I am happy our negotiations went smoothly, Gecko-sama. Konoha will send a team to collect the rice and exchange payment in 1 month. Naruto said cheerfully. Rai nodded quickly while his associates looked agape but as per orders stayed silent. Of course, Uzumaki-san. Tell Hokage-sama it is always a pleasure to do business, even if it was unexpected to conduct extensive negotiations here. Rai said with an underhanded meaning. He had expected to use the fact that Konoha was sending just shinobi this time instead of the negotiator to charge more and then lose the rice shipment in favor of Suna in the upcoming conflict the Cage told them about. By sending their Jinchuriki, which had 8 more tails than Suna's, Konoha ensured River was loyal to fire, not wind. A sneaky tactic, but it worked. No wonder ninjas ran the world. Just a precaution. After all, my friend in the trees would have had trouble keeping lookout for enemy shinobi wanting to interrupt in an office, Naruto replied airily. Rai gulped as did the rest of his side. Though the Konoha shinobi said it is looking after both sides, the message was clear: we were prepared to slaughter you. Haha, of course, of course. Have a safe trip back. Rai bowed. And you? Naruto bowed back. Oh, and my furry friend had hoped to play together. Perhaps next time. The man went ashen and quickened his pace to get away. On the trip back, Sakura and Sasuke watched their temporary leader with fascination. What? Naruto asked them as he was balancing a senbon on his palm, an exercise meant to help with the Rasengan's second step. You played them how, Naruto? My brain couldn't keep up with all that went on. And why was he so scared of you? Sakura asked him. Rai looked ready to pee his pants every time Naruto spoke or looked him in the eye. I really didn't do anything, Sakura. I read a lot and working in the tower means I can play the game somewhat. And as for the second question, I'll tell you when you make Chunin. He said with a glint in his eye that meant drop it. The secret was his to tell, but Naruto didn't think giving one of Konoha's secrets, even one about him, to Genin, especially the Uchiha who was still a flight risk. When Sasuke becomes a Chunin, it would mean he was no longer at risk of becoming a missing ninja, and as such Naruto would trust him more. Okay, I won't ask then. But I didn't know you read, Naruto. What do you usually read? Was Sakura's response. Naruto looked up from concentrating on his palm. The senbon was refusing to stay steady. Everything. Though lately my superior is making me read a lot of politics and geography, Naruto said a bit miffed. Dragon had him study not only the manual of treaty codes, but also an advanced geographical guide over fire's landmarks for shinobi. His reasoning was sound. Anbu should know as much as possible, and with his shadow clones absorbing mass amounts wasn't difficult, but Naruto still resented the man for swiping his comic collection as collateral. Let's pick up the pace. We can be back in Konoha by tomorrow evening if we push it. Meanwhile, Konoha's Ninja Academy. Jiraiya knew someone hated him. Why else was he being forced to teach a bunch of 11 and 12-year-olds basic fuinjutsu? As he and 4 clones walked around the field of students, he learned his lesson the first day of allowing them to work inside when half the desks melted due to a misspelled matrix. Jiraiya dodged explosion after explosion as the kids eagerly put their new skills to the test. Jiraiya-sensei, how can I make the explosion bigger? A girl from a civilian family asked. Momo, Jiraiya remembered, was her name. She picked up the lessons like a fish to water, and Jiraiya was about to answer the budding fuinjutsu user when their teacher appeared. Alright class, head back inside for a break. Uruka shouted from a safe distance. And don't forget. No fuinjutsu inside. Yes, Uruka-sensei. By Jiraiya-sensei. The students cheered. Jiraiya slipped the girl a level 1 fuinjutsu book with a wink, which she returned. As they disappeared, Uruka walked up. The Chunin was covering for their normal teacher while his class was on a field trip with his assistant. Thank you for volunteering, Jiraiya-sama. Being able to create basic storage scrolls and exploding tags will help them in the field, Uruka complimented. It was true. Most shinobi couldn't afford more than a few tags or one storage scroll at a time, resulting in them having to make do. By creating their own, it would mean better prepared shinobi during missions. And teaching me how to create them was kind of you as well, Jiraiya-sama. Konoha's future looks brighter. Jiraiya blushed. No problem, Gaki. It's time for research. Want to join? Jiraiya asked with a lecherous smile. He couldn't act perverted around the kids, but teasing the Chunin, who blushed at the suggestion, made up for it. I can't. Jiraiya-sama, Iruka stammered. Somewhere in rice. Kakashi popped his second chakra pill in as many hours, Tenzo on his back bleeding out and Yugao breathing heavily. With ragged breaths while he ran through the trees towards the border, Kakashi wondered how it all went to hell. Oh yeah, a Kagaya happened. Flashback, meeting between Suna and Oto. Kakashi and Tenzo hid among the trees, a double-layered genjutsu courtesy of Kakashi's eye concealing them. Really, Anbu should at least have some skill with it, at least captain level, so of course Kakashi would know it. I mean, come on, captains are supposed to be well-rounded, not over-specialized like in canon. From the shinobi below. Yugao was across from them in another tree, ready to get the drop on them if needed. Our cage has agreed to meet with Orochimaru. But be warned, Suna won't take any treachery. A Suna Jonin A ranked, named Baki, Kakashi remembered said after pleasantries. The Oto shinobi, a Kagaya based on the bone sword in hand and physical features, looked bored. Don't threaten my master, trash. Orochimaru promises. Help us destroy the leaf and your village will prosper. Kakashi sucked in a breath at that. It was true. Suna was deliberating the pros and cons of betraying them, and with their biggest traitor no less. Though, by the look on Baki's face, he didn't think it was a good idea either, but followed orders. Plant a seed on the Oto shinobi. We'll find the base then leave. Kakashi signed, receiving nods from both. After the two departed, Kakashi quickly summoned Pakun and handed him a scroll with the information from the meeting. As the dog took off towards the Anbu border patrol, Kakashi couldn't stop the feeling they were walking into a trap. Too bad Kakashi was right. Trash like you should come out now. I'll admit you fooled me for a time, but holding a genjutsu while moving is difficult. Your lives end here, the Kagaya says, stopping in an open field that gave him the advantage. Abort. Leave. Now, Kakashi ordered quickly. Kakashi had seen one Kagaya in battle during the Third War and didn't wish to fight one himself, especially when the teen started having black marks covering his skin. The three bolt back through the forest, but it turns into a game of cat and mouse. With them being restricted to using basic jutsu not unique to them or Konoha, they were easy to pick off. Within minutes, Tenzo had been hit through the stomach and shoulder with long bone spikes, while Yugao got a sliced side from one of the Kagaya's finger bullets he could use with frightening ease. Kakashi avoided injury and used 6 hanged mud clones and quick-release traps he'd had set up beforehand in case of pursuit, leading their pursuer away as he hid himself and his injured comrades. After cauterizing Tenzo's stomach wound, Kakashi and Yugao took off, pumping chakra into their legs. End flashback. That was 12 hours ago and Kakashi still couldn't rest. His comrade, his Kahai, was dying on him, and Kakashi would be damned if another person died because of him. I've gotten lazy. If we survive, I'll have to improve myself. The brat shouldn't have been able to see through my genjutsu. Senpai, the border's up ahead, Yugao spoke up an hour later, and Kakashi didn't correct her. Tenzo was pale on his back and wouldn't last much longer. Good. He heaved a sigh of relief as their feet touched fire's side of the valley. Halt. 7 Anbu dropped down around them, seeing the Kumo headbands and being on guard despite suspecting this was the recon team the Hokage informed them about. When Yugao pulls off a bandage to reveal her tattoo, they relax. You guys look like hell. What happened? A Captain Hawk asked with worry. Medic first. Kakashi managed before passing out from chakra exhaustion and chakra pill poisoning. Taking 4 of the military-grade chakra pills tended to do that to you. Orochimaru's base. They got away, Orochimaru hissed in annoyance. The trail was lost. Where did they come from? Kumo, Orochimaru-sama. I captured one mud clone, a female one, before it dispelled. They were missing Nin looking for sanctuary but didn't like the thought of you, the teen Kagaya said. He was ticked at himself for failure and made sure to memorize their faces the best he could. He'd find them and kill them. Do you believe them? Orochimaru asked. He trusted his pet. The boy was fanatical in his loyalty, but the thought of missing Nin spying on the meeting irked him and sounded too much like Konoha or even Iwa. I'm not sure. I will check the bingo books though. Will this change our plans, Master? Orochimaru pondered for a minute. No, unless Kabuto finds that Konoha and Sarutobi sensei was the one to send the ninja. Kabuto will find out if that's the case. He is our best spy after all. Of course, Akimaru-sama. Kimimaro bowed deep before leaving the snake Sannin to his thoughts. Little did either know that Kakashi, in all his wisdom, had based their disguises on 3 Kumo missing Nin that Konoha had picked up. And he had no way of knowing that their corpses would be planted by week's end to be picked up by Oto's patrol schedule that Jiraiya's toads had found. To everyone in Oto, the Kumo shinobi died by injuries from the Kagaya and had managed to almost make it to the land of hot springs. Orochimaru would learn that despite the appearance of compassion and weakness, Konoha could play the game of cutthroat better than anyone. Konoha. Next evening, Naruto and Team 7 made it before dark, checking into the guard station with tired eyes. Naruto turned to his team. Remember, don't talk about the negotiations and cut down any rumors of tensions rising, Naruto said. The genin nodded in understanding as Naruto had talked to them on the run back about the dangers of letting Konoha appear as anything other than business as usual to the outside. And spies could be anywhere. Take the next 2 days off. Kakashi-senpai will contact you soon and I'll begin your reward lessons next week. I'll take care of the report, so go home. Using a shunshin, Naruto took off towards the Hokage Tower. In the dying light, the village below the rooftops Naruto ran across looked more beautiful than Naruto had ever seen it, the people below becoming blurs. Reaching the tower, Naruto made the sign allowing him to bypass the secretary. Knocking, he hears a "come in," and quietly slips in. The Hokage was in a meeting with Elder Danzo and the commander, all of whom turned to the young Anbu in Chunin garb. Ah, Naruto, how was your mission? Sarutobi asked, grateful for the distraction. With what they heard from Kakashi's team, war was inevitable. There was a spy in the ranks as well, and they had been discussing how to feed the medic nin traitor Kabuto misinformation without alerting him. Naruto glanced at the powerful people in the room, all of whom could snap him like a twig still, and went into a crouch after setting the scroll on Sarutobi's desk. Mission success, Hokage-sama. Raigeko was terrified enough of me to give in to our demands. I even managed to convince him to give Konoha a discount with the doubled order without so much as asking. Naruto kept his face carefully blank at the gasp and pleased smile from the Hokage. It seems our weapon is a skilled negotiator, Danzo Shimura mused. Sarutobi shot him a warning glance, but Naruto remained passive. Dragon told him the old war hawk thought Jinchuriki were merely weapons, along with most shinobi. It didn't bother the blonde. It's not like the man actually had any power over him as he was an Anbu. I'm proud of your first mission as a squad leader, Naruto. Tell me, how did Team 7 perform? Naruto's eye twitch caused Dragon to suppress a face palm and Sarutobi to sigh. The Uchiha must have caused trouble, was the duo's thought. Sai was excellent, as in my report he was respectful, though needs to learn how to interact more, as his nicknames caused tension between him and his team. Sakura Haruno, well, Hikaru owes me 50 ryo, as she snapped at Sasuke, who was broody and unable to work with the team. Thankfully, with bribery for more training, the genin were able to put aside their differences. Naruto finished, leaving the rest to the written report. Sarutobi gave him a considering look. Do you consider them ready for the Chunin exams in 2 months? Sarutobi asked. The plan to draw out their enemies required the Uchiha and Hyuga to take part, but losing the last of a bloodline either to treachery or death was not worth it. At Naruto's widening eyes, Sarutobi had to chuckle. Yes, I value your opinion. You may be young, but you have proven yourself to make wise decisions, especially on this last mission. Well, they don't deserve it to be sure. But, he added at the somewhat disappointed looks. They will survive with Ro and Gamma watching over them. The Uchiha and Haruno are not ready for the rank, as Sakura is just now getting out of her fangirl phase when she saw how Sasuke treated her, and Sasuke would not pass a loyalty test if his life depended on it. Naruto admitted. Danzo coughed. And the third? What about Sai? The undercover handler is almost Jonin level and I have no troubles with him, Naruto shot back, not liking his games. Everyone knew the pale boy was Danzo, so why beat around the bush? The mummy sent a pleased hum but didn't confirm or deny it. And his training. There is some who voice their desire to see Sasuke learn higher level techniques, and the elders wish Kakashi to start on training his Chidori. Sarutobi looked pensive at the thought even Kakashi had shot down the notion of upping the Uchiha's training. Naruto scoffed. Absolutely not, Hokage-sama. Sasuke Uchiha still harbors dark thoughts about both his team and brother. He feels superior to everyone around him. If a traitor or another village offered him power, he'd leave Konoha in a heartbeat. Giving him instruction in jutsu unique to our village or has a high assassination ability would be foolish. Naruto wished for nothing more than for Sasuke to grow up as a loyal shinobi. That's why Naruto gave his word to help the Avenger kill Itachi, but until Sasuke stopped his path of darkness, any jutsu or instruction had to be handed out carefully. Thank you, Naruto. Kakashi and his team are in the Anbu hospital with injuries. Your captain and Yugao is there and will be until next week. Hikaru will run Team 7 for the foreseeable future, as he is obviously a good influence on them, and RO will be split for a month except for team exercises. Will I be able to visit my captain? He asked in concern. Sarutobi shook his head. Not for a few days. Tenzo is in isolation as his wound was infected with both Kakashi's and the Kagaya's chakra. Kakashi and Yugao you can see tomorrow. Naruto inclined his head. The obvious question. Where would he go for the time being? Dragon spoke for the first time. You're to continue training with the Hokage and Toad Sannin and be on a fill-in basis, Mouse. Additionally, Hayate Gecko requested you for a mission due to your unique henge. You're to meet him in 3 days. Dragon spoke with hidden amusement, which led to Naruto having a sinking feeling. Dragon being amused about shinobi matters usually led to embarrassment or pain to all others involved. But, Naruto was a loyal Konoha Anbu, and Anbu don't question their commander. Of course, Dragon-sama. Is that all? You may leave now. Meet me at our training grounds tomorrow at 9 am. Naruto. After a final bow, Naruto disappeared and headed for his apartment. Naruto knocked tiredly on Hikaru's door and sighed when it became apparent the older teen was gone. Probably at a bar with girls, he growled in annoyance. Using the key Hikaru gave him, Naruto crept inside. Unlike most shinobi, Hikaru had no traps set up or seals activated. Tenzo, it'd be the end of him one day, but the Hyuga would just laugh it off. Still, what he lacked in traps he made up for in mess. While Naruto learned quickly to keep his home neat, Hikaru felt the less floor space the better. Angel, you here? Naruto called, not wanting to venture inside. Naruto, you're back, was the instant reply, and his feline friend run on the ceiling to avoid laundry, landing on his head in a happy heap. Whoa, when'd you learn how to tree walk? He inquired as the pair made their way back inside their own place. Naruto had taken the liberty of picking up Angel's favorite, sushi, as apology for dumping her on Hikaru of all people. Thankfully, as the cat gorged, all seemed forgiven and forgotten. Dragon taught me. Now I can become twice as big, she said between bites. Naruto, sporting his own plate of raw fish and rice, was impressed. The hell cats normally couldn't change size before their 3rd year. Angel was barely 2. Congrats. Tomorrow we have training with Hokage-sama. I could teach you water walking if you'd like, he offered. Yes. Soon I'll be able to go on all your missions, the cat cheered. Naruto blinked then winced. So she wasn't over it. Angel, I'm sorry. I couldn't risk your safety. The cat looked up and glared with an intensity enough to shame a Hyuga. And I'm your partner Naruto. I can take whatever you can. She insisted. Tell you what. When you can use the 3 genjutsu Dragon-sama left for you in the scroll, can water walk, and are able to beat Tora in a spar no gen or ninjutsu, I'll take you along on every mission that doesn't need me alone. Is that fair? The first 2 were easy, but the last one could take a while, just as Naruto intended. With this deal he'd be able to keep Angel inside the village with occasional patrols around for months. Tora was technically a house cat, but Naruto had been friends with the she-devil since his 7th birthday. Through fighting and chase games the cat became Konoha's menace to Genin. Not that anyone knew it was Naruto that taught the cat how to hide its tracks or the spots to aim for the most damage or the more recent ability to tree and water walk. It would take months before Angel could hope to beat the older cat without ninjutsu or genjutsu. In the meantime Naruto would prepare her to be deadly and untouchable. Deal. But just you wait, I'll beat that Tora before you know it. Angel declared. Meow came from the living room window. With practiced ease Tora unlocked the window and slid into the apartment, accepting a roll of sushi. Hey Tora, the daimyo's wife too clingy again? Naruto asked as he petted his visitor gently. Meow, Tora replied. Angel translated. She says, yes, and I want to live here forever. Both residents looked in pity. The daimyo's wife adored her pet to the point of torture and would never part with Tora, or else he'd have adopted her years ago. Why don't you stay here tonight, girl? You could show Angel how to water walk tomorrow in the bathtub, he suggested. Tora wrinkled her nose slightly. She liked it better before the black cat came along and it was just her in his life. Naruto sensed this and added incentive. If you do, you can hide here all day tomorrow. The seals will prevent others from being able to track you. Meow. She says fine, but that I better not take too long water walking. Why? You fat excuse of a cat. I'll learn it by tomorrow night. Angel vowed and launched an attack at Tora. Naruto ignored the familiar scene and got up. Alright, you two don't stay up too late, see you in the morning. Luckily Guy had his genin on a week-long training trip in a secluded training ground for survival training. Naruto could at last sleep in and visit his friends in the hospital before meeting with the Hokage. That's what Naruto wanted to believe. However, at 4 a water jutsu hit him square in the face. You've had enough sleep time for training. Dragon spoke in a cheerful tone. Oh, and letting Tora hide out in your apartment. I'll allow it, but I will blackmail you later, the commander added on at the sight of the 2 cats asleep on the floor, still tangled up from fighting into the late hours. Meet me at the training grounds in 5, and left through Naruto's bedroom window. Sadist, Naruto grumbled 30 seconds later as he was dressed in his full-on duty Anbu gear and fitted his weights on tight. After filling up the tub and leaving a note for the cats, he followed his commander out the bedroom window. Dragon wasn't a cruel or sadistic man, really, even if he found immense joy in his youngest operative's cries of frustration as the boy kept attempting his new genjutsu, false surroundings, on Dragon. The commander didn't have the heart to tell him it was literally impossible to catch him in any genjutsu, much less a weak one. Even without the success, Naruto was improving rapidly, and he himself could detect and break most C-rank genjutsu. Too bad in the Black Ops mission higher-powered genjutsu was used. Thankfully the fox wasn't messing with his subordinate's chakra anymore, and as the two grudgingly worked together Naruto's control shot up. By the time Orochimaru made his move, the blonde would be able to dispel a rank genjutsu. Even if Dragon had to beat it into him. Enough, mouse. You did almost passable, the waterfall climbing is helping. Go work on the Rasengan while you wait for the Hokage. And the commander was off without a goodbye. Naruto huffed at the common occurrence and plopped down on the grass, rubber ball already in hand, eating a nutrition bar with the other. 20 clones joined him in intense concentration. Because of the Senbon balancing, Naruto was able to pop the rubber consistently by the time the Hokage showed up an hour later. Impressive. Now you just have to ask Jiraiya for the third step. Sarutobi praised, walking up in his own training gear. Naruto beamed at the compliment. He always looked forward to his time with the third, even after everything. Now, let's see your water manipulation. Second step, I have a water jutsu for you, but we must get your manipulation up to par even with your reserves for prolonged battles. With fierce determination, Naruto began the arduous process with 100 clones to push the waterfall up. Learning a non-primary element took twice as long, but Naruto wouldn't fail. His village needed him strong enough to fight a Jinchuriki reports said could fully transform. You could let me take over and I'd beat that brat Shukaku back to the desert, Kurama offered. Naruto snorted. Sorry Kurama, but I can't let you take over my body, but if you want to help beat your brother, I'm up for strategies. No thanks, just learn the damn waterfall trick. It can't be that hard, your mother did it in half the time. Kurama taunted. Naruto ignored him and turned back to his task. Soon, I can feel it. After an hour, his clones dispelled in groups and another batch took the task back up. For the rest of the day, Sarutobi decided to avoid the office work and help the real Naruto with taijutsu and battle tactics by beating the crap out of him. When the sun set, Sarutobi was still fresh while Naruto had various scorch marks, frazzled hair, and bruises. That was a good warm-up. I'll see you Monday, Naruto. Remember that until Tenzo recovers, you'll be having extra time with me. Oh, and enjoy your mission. Naruto simply panted back at the man from his heap on the ground. That night, Angel found him and Naruto gave a groan of congratulations when she demonstrated being able to stand shakily on the water. The two slept in the summer air, proud but dead tired. 2 days later, Naruto walked towards the Hokage Tower in the afternoon with a chipper step. He'd just gotten back from visiting Yugao and a restrained Kakashi. The man hated hospitals with a passion. His senpai had cried and offered Naruto anything to be let loose. Naruto would have happily complied if the Anbu on guard weren't staring at him. He liked living more than having the copy ninja in his debt. Tenzo was still unconscious during the visit to allow his body to heal, but the Anbu medic assured him that his captain would be awake by the time Naruto returned from his mission. Inside the mission meeting room, Hayate was already waiting, his two teammates Genma and Rado leaning against the wall. Well, if it isn't the mouse, oh, and you're a Chunin now. One step closer to Hokage, Genma smirked at Naruto's slight blush from the tease at his pre-graduation days. Quiet, Genma. Now that we're all here, this is an A-ranked mission. We're going undercover as a noble's daughter and her hired ninja escorts to the land of tea. There's a political gathering of the region's noble girls and her father is worried about potential kidnappings due to her young age. Naruto, you'll be hanged into the girl seeing as your henge is actually a shapeshift. The rest is in the scroll, but any questions? Hayate asked between coughs. I hate you. Naruto glared at his temporary captain. Hayate smirked while the other two sniggered. The quicker we finish, the quicker we'll be home, Tsubaki-sama, he teased. We're ready for you now. Naruto cursed inside as the door opened and a 6-year-old girl walked in. This was going to be a long mission, the only upside being that Hikaru wasn't there and Angel was hanging out with Tora and Gamma squad on their patrols while he was gone, in exchange for Tora hiding out in his apartment again and Naruto giving Hawk 5 of the chakra smoke tags. Time to get to work, my lady, Genma chuckled. A long mission indeed.